They call it the Devil's Triangle, a stretch of ocean where compasses spin wild. Skies darken without warning, and entire ships vanish as if swallowed by the sea itself. Somewhere between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico lies a patch of the Atlantic that has earned a reputation so chilling it transcends geography. It has become legend. The Bermuda Triangle. For centuries, sailors, pilots, and adventurers have whispered about its strange power. They tell of engines that die mid-flight, radios that go silent, and horizons that shimmer like heat mirages before everything simply disappears. What makes this place so different from any other expanse of ocean? Why does it seem to lure the bold and the curious, only to devour them whole? Our story begins not with superstition, but with one of the most famous vanishings in modern history, a mystery that still echoes through the corridors of aviation lore. Flight 19. It was December 5, 1945. World War II had ended, but the U.S. Navy remained active in training missions over the Atlantic. 5 Avenger torpedo bombers took off from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale that afternoon for what should have been a routine navigation exercise. The weather was fair, the crews were experienced, and the flight plan simple. They were to head east, practice bombing runs, then turn north and back toward Florida. But sometime after 3:30 p.m., things began to unravel. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, radioed base control sounding uncertain. "We can't find west. Everything looks wrong. The ocean doesn't look as it should." Static filled the line. The men in the control tower tried to guide him back using bearings, but Taylor's compass had failed. Or perhaps both compasses had. His voice crackled again, distant, strained, and tinged with fear. "We're not sure where we are." The land looked strange. As the hours passed, the weather deteriorated. Darkness fell. The final transmission came through faintly, the wind howling in the background. "When the first plane runs out of fuel, we'll all go down together." And then, silence. Search and rescue planes were dispatched immediately. One, APB-M Mariner, vanished less than an hour later with its entire crew. Not a single piece of wreckage from Flight 19 was ever recovered. To this day, no debris, no bodies, and no definitive explanation have surfaced. It was as if the ocean had erased them entirely. The official investigation blamed navigational error and fuel exhaustion, yet even the Navy admitted, "We are not able to determine exactly what happened." That uncertainty fed the legend. Reporters called it the Bermuda Triangle for the first time in the 1950s, and soon every strange disappearance in the region seemed to fall under its dark spell. But the triangle's history stretches much further back. Long before radar and flight logs, sailors of the 5th-10th centuries spoke of eerie lights dancing over the sea, of magnetic anomalies that caused compasses to spin, and of ghostly ships appearing on the horizon only to dissolve into mist. Christopher Columbus himself, during his 1492 voyage, wrote of strange lights in the distance near the area now known as the Bermuda Triangle. His compass began to behave erratically. Crew members whispered of omens. Over the centuries that followed, tales accumulated. The USS Cyclops in 1918, a massive Navy collier with 309 men, aboard, vanished without a single distress call while sailing from Barbados to Baltimore. It remains the largest non-combat loss of life in U.S. Navy history. 2 of her sister ships later disappeared in nearly identical conditions. Coincidence or curse? Then there was the Carroll, a Deering, a 5-masted schooner found aground off the coast of North Carolina in 1921. Her crew was gone. Meals were still laid out on the table. Logs abruptly ended. Lifeboats missing. Not a trace of the sailors was ever found. Investigators could only guess mutiny, piracy, or something more sinister. By the time Flight 19 disappeared, the legend had teeth. Newspapers seized upon every report of vanishing planes, every ship lost without a trace. The Bermuda Triangle became shorthand for the unknowable. Yet beneath the sensationalism lies a more complex truth. Oceanographers note that this region of the Atlantic is one of the most heavily traveled in the world, subject to fierce weather systems, sudden squalls, and the powerful Gulf Stream, a current capable of sweeping away debris within hours. Magnetic variations near the poles can confuse compasses, and methane gas eruptions from the seafloor have been proposed as a cause for sudden sinkings. Still, skeptics struggle to explain why so many disappearances seem so absolute. Wreckage should float. Transmissions should persist. How can entire aircraft and ships simply cease to exist? Part of the answer may lie deep below the surface. The ocean floor here is a labyrinth: steep drop-offs, underwater trenches, and vast expanses of silt capable of swallowing wreckage whole. In 1963, an American freighter called the Marine Sulphur Queen vanished carrying molten sulfur. No debris, no life rafts, nothing. The ship had radioed in perfect condition only hours before. Then, in 1969, a private pilot named Bruce Gernon reported something extraordinary. He claimed to have flown through a strange cloud formation, a swirling tunnel of mist, only to emerge hundreds of miles away, as though time itself had folded. His plane's instruments malfunctioned, and his watch lost time. He later described it as an electronic fog, a phrase that would enter Bermuda Triangle lore as a possible clue to its mysteries. Was it atmospheric plasma? A rare meteorological event? Or something beyond human comprehension? The legend only grew. In 1974, author Charles Berlitz published The Bermuda Triangle, a best-selling book that compiled decades of disappearances and strange phenomena. He spoke of alien abductions, underwater cities, and ancient energy sources buried beneath the ocean, theories that captured the public imagination. Hollywood followed with films, documentaries, and television specials. The triangle had transcended reality. It had become a mythic symbol of mankind's eternal battle with the unknown. But perhaps the most haunting stories are not those told in books or movies, but those whispered by survivors, men and women who claim to have glimpsed the triangle's hidden side and lived to tell of it. Fishermen report compasses that spin uncontrollably and GPS devices that lose signal as though something interferes with the satellites themselves. Pilots speak of sudden cloud walls materializing out of clear skies, of vertigo-inducing distortions that make sea and sky indistinguishable. One such account came from a pilot named Jay Margolis, who in the 1990s flew a small charter from Andros Island to Miami. Midway through his journey, his instruments began to flicker. He reported a pale green haze forming around the wings, the radio cutting out. When he emerged, Miami Air Traffic Control had no record of him leaving Andros, yet radar showed him appearing suddenly, hundreds of miles ahead of his flight path, as if space itself had been folded. Skeptics dismissed the story, but it matched elements of Gernon's earlier account. The notion of time slips and spatial distortions became part of the triangle's mythology. Even the ocean itself seems to conspire with the unknown. The Sargasso Sea, a calm, eerily still part of the Atlantic covered in drifting seaweed, lies within the triangle's boundaries. Its sluggish currents and glassy surface have trapped sailing vessels for centuries, leaving sailors stranded for weeks under an unbroken sun. More than one ghost ship has been found here, sails intact but crews gone. Some scientists have tried to attribute the disappearances to human error, piracy, or natural phenomena like rogue waves, massive, spontaneous walls of water that can rise over 80 feet high, capable of destroying even modern ships. Others speak of microbursts, sudden downward blasts of wind that can force aircraft into the sea without warning. But none of these explanations fully satisfy. There's something almost theatrical about the triangle, a sense of pattern, of design. Many of its disappearances happen under routine conditions, in clear weather, with experienced crews. If it were merely bad luck, why does it persist across centuries, technologies, and nations? As night falls over the Atlantic, the horizon glows faintly red. A storm brews in the distance. Ships continue to pass through daily, cruise liners, cargo vessels, private yachts. For most, the journey is uneventful. For a few, it is the last voyage they will ever make. And somewhere beneath those restless waves, the secrets of the Bermuda Triangle remain waiting. As dawn breaks over the restless Atlantic, the ocean glows with a deceptive calm. The same tranquil waters that lure tourists and sailors alike have, for generations, hidden the darkest of secrets. In this second chapter of our journey, we descend deeper into the legend, into stories so chilling and strange that even the most rational minds are left searching for explanations that fit within the laws of nature. The years following Flight 19's disappearance only strengthened the mystery. In 1948, a passenger plane known as the Star Tiger vanished without a trace while flying from the Azores to Bermuda. The aircraft was piloted by Captain Brian W. McMillan, a veteran with thousands of flight hours. The weather was mild, communication was clear, and fuel was sufficient. Yet somewhere between the last radio check and its scheduled landing, the plane ceased to exist. No debris, no oil slick, no human remains. Just open sea. 1 year later, almost to the day, another British South American Airways flight, the Star Ariel, disappeared on its way to Kingston, Jamaica. Again, conditions were ideal. Again, nothing was ever found. Investigators combed through logs, radio records, and weather reports, searching for common threads. The official conclusions were unsatisfying, 'cause unknown. It was as if the sky itself had opened and swallowed the aircraft whole. Journalists began to draw parallels, claiming that whatever claimed Flight 19 had returned, and this time, it wasn't just military planes that vanished, but civilian airliners with dozens of souls aboard. By the 1950s, the legend had spread across the world. The Bermuda Triangle became a symbol of the uncanny, a place where physics seemed to bend, where reality fractured. For every documented case, hundreds of whispered accounts followed. Ships vanishing mid-transmission. Planes appearing hundreds of miles off course. Distress calls that ended in static, followed by silence. The pattern was undeniable, yet maddeningly inconsistent. One story often told among old sailors is that of the Witchcraft. On December 22, 1967, the luxury cabin cruiser left Miami with 2 men aboard, owner Dan Burak and a friend. Only 1 mile offshore, Burak radioed the Coast Guard. His tone was calm. Something strange had brushed the hull, but they weren't in danger. "We'll signal with a flare if we need help," he said. The Coast Guard arrived within minutes. The spot was marked by GPS coordinates. There was nothing. No flare, no vessel. Just dark, undisturbed sea. Even debris that should have floated was gone. Rescuers searched 1,200 square miles. Nothing. The Witchcraft was equipped with flotation gear, making it almost impossible to sink, yet it had disappeared completely, within eyesight of Miami's glowing skyline. It was the kind of event that seemed to mock logic itself. Some theorists began to suggest strange electromagnetic forces in the region. Scientists recorded anomalies where compass readings drifted, sometimes several degrees from normal. In the era before GPS, such small deviations could spell disaster, leading navigators astray by miles before realizing their error. But even that could not account for total vanishings. Others proposed a more dramatic explanation: methane hydrate eruptions from the ocean floor. These frozen gas pockets, when released, can cause the density of water to drop suddenly, making ships lose buoyancy and sink almost instantly. It's a rare phenomenon, but one capable of swallowing vessels without leaving debris. Yet skeptics countered this theory couldn't explain why aircraft vanished as well. Through the 1970s, as popular fascination exploded, more cases added fuel to the fire. In 1972, the cargo ship Anita set sail from Newport News, Virginia, bound for Germany. She was carrying 30 crew members and thousands of tons of coal. Her last transmission was normal. A few days later, she was gone. No SOS, no debris field, no bodies. The ocean had erased her like chalk in the rain. Then came one of the strangest tales, the disappearance of the SS Sylvia El Assa in 1976. She was a massive 590-foot freighter, modern and well-maintained, carrying iron ore. Radar contact ceased abruptly. The only thing ever found was an empty life raft, adrift hundreds of miles away. It was as though the ship had been lifted from the surface of the earth. The following decades saw technology advance: satellite navigation, better communication, radar, flight tracking. Yet even then, the disappearances continued, though less frequent. It was as if the triangle adjusted its appetite, claiming fewer but still unexplained victims. The most chilling accounts come from those who escaped it. Pilots describe moments when the world around them seemed to warp. 1. A man named Larry Cush documented reports of electronic interference. Radio dials spinning on their own, compasses frozen, static roaring through headsets until suddenly silence. Then, just as abruptly, the instruments returned to normal, leaving the crew shaken but alive. Cush, who also investigated the myths, eventually concluded that the legend was built on exaggerations, misreported incidents, distorted facts, human error. He believed there was no true mystery at all, that the number of disappearances was proportionate to the heavy traffic through the area. But if that were true, why did so many seasoned sailors and pilots describe identical sensations? The eerie fogs, The magnetic distortions, the way time seemed to stretch and contract? It's here, between skepticism and belief, that the Bermuda Triangle lives, a crossroads of science and myth, fact and fiction. It's the very ambiguity that keeps its story alive. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, research expeditions dove deeper than ever before. Sonar scans mapped trenches descending thousands of feet. Submersibles explored coral shelves and sunken wrecks. They found hundreds of ships from centuries past, but few matched the famous missing vessels. It was as if the triangle kept its most famous victims hidden in a realm beyond reach. Some explorers pointed to a strange undersea structure discovered near Bimini in the Bahamas, a massive formation of rectangular stone blocks that looked unervingly like a man-made road. Dubbed the Bimini Road, it sparked wild speculation. Could this be part of the fabled lost city of Atlantis? The myth spread quickly, linking Plato's ancient story to the Bermuda Triangle's modern legend. Theorists claim that the mysterious energies of Atlantis, ancient crystal technologies buried beneath the sea, might explain the electromagnetic disturbances still detected today. Scientists dismissed it as natural limestone formations shaped by erosion, but the imagery was too captivating to die. The ocean in this region is more than just deep, it is ancient. Its trenches hold secrets from the dawn of time. Magnetic fields twist unpredictably due to variations in Earth's crust. Gigantic undercurrents surge through invisible valleys. The environment itself feels alive, sentient even, as if guarding its mysteries. In 1991, the disappearance of the pilot Gerald D. Payne reignited public fascination. Payne, flying a small twin-engine aircraft from Treasure Cay to Fort Pierce, vanished on a cloudless afternoon. His last words: "Something's not right with my instruments." Radar contact was lost seconds later. No wreckage was ever recovered. The Coast Guard noted that the disappearance occurred near the same coordinates as Flight 19, almost half a century apart. By now, the Bermuda Triangle had taken on a mythic dimension, not just as a geographical zone, but as a psychological one, a symbol of human vulnerability against nature's deepest enigmas. Every generation finds new stories to add to its legend. Some physicists theorize that the region's unique geometry could amplify electromagnetic activity, creating localized distortions that affect instruments, or even perception. Others whisper about more outlandish possibilities: dimensional rifts, wormholes, or fluctuations in spacetime. Could the Bermuda Triangle be a natural portal, a tear in the fabric of reality? These theories live on the edges of science, but they reflect a profound truth about the human experience: our endless need to explain what we cannot understand. Whether it's ancient civilizations, alien abductions, or the supernatural, the Bermuda Triangle remains a canvas for our fears and fascinations. Night descends again on the Atlantic. Cargo ships hum softly in the dark, their lights stretching across the endless water. Somewhere out there beneath the waves lie answers that might never surface. Perhaps one day technology will reveal the truth. Or perhaps the triangle will guard its secrets forever, reminding us that even in an age of satellites and sonar, there are still places on this earth where mystery reigns supreme. The new millennium arrived with a wave of technology that promised to make navigation foolproof. GPS systems, radar beacons, and advanced weather tracking meant pilots and captains could see storms hours before they formed, plot routes with surgical precision, and maintain constant communication across continents. Yet even in this age of progress, the Bermuda Triangle refused to release its grip on mystery. Strange disappearances continued, fewer, perhaps, but just as confounding. One of the most haunting modern stories came in 2003, when a small fishing boat named the Genesis vanished off the coast of Bimini. The weather was calm. The sea was glass. The last radio message was almost casual: "Pulling in the nets now, heading back before sunset." That transmission came through at 3:10 p.m. The boat never returned. Search teams found a buoy tangled in netting 3 days later. No damage, no signs of a struggle, no evidence of foul play. It was as though the sea had gently plucked the Genesis from existence and sealed over the space it left behind. Local Bahamian fishermen began whispering of a blue mist seen rising from the water that afternoon, an iridescent haze that hovered low above the surface before vanishing into the clouds. Some said it was methane, others, something far stranger. Witnesses described a faint humming sound like electricity in the air. Within days, the story was national news. And once again, the legend of the triangle had stirred from its slumber. Not long after, in 2005, a private aircraft piloted by John Maccabee departed from Fort Lauderdale bound for Nassau. The flight was uneventful until Maccabe's final transmission, recorded at 8:32 a.m. Everything just went weird. Compass spinning, losing altitude. Seconds later, the signal cut out. The U.S. Coast Guard dispatched rescue crews immediately, scouring the coordinates where radar contact was lost. Nothing. No oil slick, no debris, no signal from the emergency locator. For days, the search continued in perfect weather. The ocean gave nothing back. To this day, neither Maccabee nor his twin-engine Beechcraft has been found. What's striking about these modern incidents is not just the absence of evidence, but the eerie consistency of witness accounts. They speak of electrical interference, of compasses that whirl aimlessly, of clouds forming instantaneously, unnatural, geometric, pulsing with faint light. One flight instructor described what he saw while crossing near the southern boundary of the triangle. A spiral-shaped cloud that rotated in silence, a hole opening in its center that seemed to lead upward into nothingness. His co-pilot later said the plane's navigation system glitched, showing them hundreds of miles off their true course before suddenly correcting itself. To them, the experience lasted no more than a few seconds, but the clocks on board told a different story. They'd lost 28 minutes of flight time. If the Bermuda Triangle were simply an illusion, bad weather, poor instruments, human error, how could so many accounts describe phenomena that defy conventional physics? Pilots, mariners, and radar technicians, all seeing similar things over decades? Perhaps, as some scientists have speculated, there truly are temporal disturbances in the region areas where time moves differently, or electromagnetic fields distort not just compasses, but reality itself. One of the most persistent voices in modern triangle research is Dr. Eleanor Marsh, a theoretical physicist who spent 20 years studying geomagnetic anomalies in the North Atlantic. She doesn't believe in the supernatural, but her findings have unsettled even the skeptics. Using deep-sea sensors, she detected massive fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field near the Puerto Rico Trench, region that descends over 28,000 feet into darkness. These magnetic surges, she explained, can distort radio waves, bend radar signals, and create zones of silence that could disorient pilots. Yet, in her own words, the intensity and frequency of these surges are still not fully understood. We're seeing readings that suggest something unique is happening beneath that water. Some believe those magnetic waves are remnants of volcanic activity or mineral deposits beneath the ocean floor. Others believe they're a byproduct of something ancient, perhaps something artificial. In 2012, a team of oceanographers claimed to have discovered unusual symmetrical structures, nearly 2,000 meters below the surface between Cuba and the Bahamas. Sonar imaging revealed what appeared to be 4 enormous stone pyramids, perfectly aligned with magnetic north. The world briefly erupted in speculation. Could these be remnants of a lost civilization, Atlantis, perhaps? Theories ranged from submerged temples to alien architecture. Governments remained silent, and the expedition's findings quietly disappeared from the headlines. But local divers insisted the images were real. Some described seeing metallic surfaces reflecting their lights, others hearing low, rhythmic vibrations coming from the depths. Even if such tales are exaggerated, they add to the Bermuda Triangle's mystique, a place where history, science, and legend blur together into something far larger than fact alone. Meanwhile, survivors continue to come forward. In 2017, a Cuban Coast Guard patrol encountered an unmanned vessel drifting aimlessly just off the coast of Havana. The ship bore no recent registration, no crew, no logbook. Rusted but intact, its nameplate read, Sus Cotopaxi. To the astonishment of investigators, this was the same ship that had vanished in 1925 en route from Charleston to Havana, a disappearance long attributed to the Bermuda Triangle. For 92 years, it had been lost. The discovery made global news, though skeptics were quick to point out that the identification might have been mistaken. Still, to many, it was proof that the triangle does not destroy, it hides. Perhaps it hides in time. There is a story often told among Caribbean air traffic controllers of a flight that appeared on radar in 1991, moving at a steady 180 knots over the open ocean. When contacted, the pilot identified his craft as Pan Am Flight 914 departing New York, bound for Miami. The problem? That flight had vanished in 1955. Controllers assumed it was a hoax. Yet the radar signature matched an aircraft of that era, and the signal persisted for 9 full minutes before vanishing once more. Nothing about the event could be verified later, but it fit the triangle's cruel pattern: stories that tease the edge of believability, always vanishing before proof can anchor them in reality. The Bermuda Triangle thrives on such paradoxes. Its most terrifying quality isn't what it takes, but what it leaves behind. Broken transmissions, impossible readings, eyewitnesses whose stories echo like warnings across time. Scientists try to tame the legend with logic, pointing to environmental hazards unique to the area. Sudden downdrafts, known as microbursts, can slam aircraft toward the ocean with devastating force. Rogue waves, some over 80 feet tall, can appear without warning, swallowing even the largest ships in seconds. The Gulf Stream's powerful currents can scatter wreckage so widely that it's never recovered. These are real phenomena, terrifying, unpredictable, and fully capable of destruction. But while they explain some disappearances, they can't account for all of them. They can't explain compasses that spin without reason, or planes that lose hours of recorded time. If there's one truth the triangle has taught us, it's that nature remains infinitely more mysterious than we imagine. Our instruments can measure its surface, but not its soul. And for every theory, the ocean whispers back with a secret of its own. Tonight, as moonlight shimmers across the open Atlantic, a freighter moves quietly through the waters near Nassau. Its captain checks his compass, glances at the radar, and mutters a prayer. His crew knows the stories. They've all heard them. Yet the sea is calm, the sky clear. The engines hum steadily. 1,000 miles away, satellites trace their path with mathematical precision. By all accounts, there is nothing to fear. And yet, somewhere out there in the vast Black Sea, just beyond the radar's edge, something ancient stirs, something patient, something that has watched mankind for centuries. It waits not in malice, but in silence. For in the Bermuda Triangle, silence is the loudest sound of all. The story of the Bermuda Triangle doesn't end with the old legends, it evolves with every new discovery, every modern investigation, and every eerie disappearance that challenges our sense of certainty. By the time the 2020s arrived, technology had transformed nearly every corner of the world. Ships now carried satellite trackers, aircraft sent constant GPS telemetry, and rescue operations could mobilize within minutes. Yet even with all that precision, the Bermuda Triangle continued to whisper its defiance, subtle, mysterious, and enduring. One of the most chilling modern cases unfolded in 2020. A twin-engine Piper Navajo aircraft departed from Andros Island in the Bahamas, bound for Fort Lauderdale. The flight was routine, the weather pristine. The pilot was experienced, and air traffic controllers tracked the craft without incident until suddenly, at 2:12 p.m., the signal vanished. No mayday, no engine trouble, just a clean break. The Coast Guard launched a wide-scale search across 17,000 square miles of ocean. Not a single fragment was recovered. It was as if the sea had erased the aircraft in real time. The report was later categorized under cause unknown, echoing the words that have haunted this region for decades. Around the same time, oceanographers noticed something else: unusual electromagnetic fluctuations recorded by deep-sea sensors scattered throughout the triangle's core. For nearly 6 hours, instruments near the Puerto Rico Trench captured an anomalous spike in geomagnetic activity. The readings didn't match any known pattern of solar storms or underwater seismic activity. It was as if the ocean itself had pulsed with invisible energy. When asked, researchers could only speculate. Perhaps it was natural. Or perhaps something beneath the waves was stirring again. In 2022, a team of marine archaeologists embarked on an expedition aboard the Nautilus II, equipped with cutting-edge submersibles and sonar arrays. Their mission was to explore sections of the Atlantic seafloor rarely visited by humans. For nearly a week, everything went smoothly. They mapped coral formations, traced currents, and captured stunning footage of deep-sea life. Then, on the 8th day, something inexplicable occurred. All 4 submersibles, each operating independently, reported sudden compass deviation. Navigation systems spun erratically. Cameras captured a faint glow beneath the sediment, like threads of light moving within the darkness. Within minutes, power fluctuations rippled through the Nautilus II. The ship's logs recorded a total electrical blackout, lasting exactly 1 minute and 32 seconds. When systems rebooted, every digital clock on board was 3 minutes out of sync, as though time itself had slipped. The crew was shaken but unharmed. Scientists later dismissed it as a massive electromagnetic discharge, possibly triggered by natural geological processes. But among the crew, whispers persisted about the strange lights beneath the ocean and the feeling that, for that minute and a half, they were not alone. The footage captured during that event brief and grainy showed faint geometric patterns glowing under the waves, like structures pulsing in rhythm with the Earth itself. The data was later sealed under classified research agreements. The public would never see it. And yet, these stories persist because they touch something primal, the tension between human mastery and nature's hidden dominion. We sail across this ocean with satellites watching from above, convinced of our control. But in the Bermuda Triangle, that illusion collapses. Technology fails. Compasses falter. Clocks forget their duty. And time, for a moment, belongs to something else. In the aftermath of the Nautilus II incident, private researchers and documentary crews flocked to the area, determined to demystify the triangle once and for all. Some brought drones capable of scanning electromagnetic frequencies. Others interviewed surviving pilots and mariners who'd crossed the region and lived to tell their stories. Their accounts shared unsettling similarities: GPS devices cutting out for miles, sudden dead zones where communication simply stopped. One sailor described the sea surface turning mirror-like, reflecting the sky in such a way that it was impossible to distinguish horizon from water. In those moments, he said, "It feels like you refloating inside a bubble of reality that is not quite ours." One theory gaining quiet traction among scientists involves something called spatial inversion. It suggests that extreme magnetic or gravitational conditions could create localized distortions in spacetime, brief moments where the normal relationship between distance and time collapses. If such phenomena occurred naturally, even for seconds, a ship or plane could theoretically vanish from its position before being relocated or lost forever. It's a theory so radical that it borders on science fiction, but the mathematics behind it aren't impossible. Black holes and cosmic strings are known to bend time. Perhaps in some small, localized form, the Earth itself can do the same. Still, others refuse to stray from the tangible. Meteorologists point to the unique collision of weather systems that converge over the triangle. The warm Gulf Stream, the cool Atlantic air, and sudden bursts of tropical instability create conditions ripe for microbursts and rogue waves. A rogue wave, even 50 feet tall, could crush a ship without warning and vanish seconds later, leaving no trace but shattered steel beneath miles of ocean. And in an area as trafficked as the Triangle, statistics alone dictate that disappearances will happen. It's just that when they do, people don't call it tragedy, they call it the curse. But if the Bermuda Triangle is only a statistical anomaly, why do the stories persist even in the digital age? Why does it inspire awe, fear, and fascination unlike any other place on Earth? Perhaps the answer lies in the human psyche itself. The ocean, vast and unknowable, mirrors the deepest corners of our imagination. It humbles us. We build machines to cross it, charts to measure it, but still we know that beneath the surface lies a world untouched by reason. The Bermuda Triangle, in this sense, is not a place, it's a symbol. A reminder that even now, in an era of artificial intelligence and interplanetary exploration, we remain explorers of a planet that still hides its own secrets. The deeper question is whether the triangle chooses its victims or whether we choose to see it that way. For every ship that disappears, thousands pass through safely. For every strange electromagnetic pulse, there are countless calm nights under starry skies. The triangle, like all myths, exists in the fragile space between perception and truth. Yet some evidence refuses to fit any rational mold. In 2023, an autonomous underwater drone deployed by a research vessel captured audio unlike anything previously recorded in the Atlantic. It began as a low, rhythmic hum, measurable, patterned, almost mechanical. Then, over several minutes, the pitch shifted into complex modulations that resembled coded communication. Experts analyzed it, comparing it against whale songs, seismic activity, and submarine interference. None matched. The sound came from a depth of over 10,000 feet, near one of the deepest trenches in the triangle. Then, without warning, the signal stopped abruptly mid-pattern, as though the source had recognized it was being heard. The data file was labeled Event Echo 7 and archived. Unclassified portions of the audio were eventually leaked online, sparking global intrigue. Some said it was geological resonance. Others swore it was evidence of something sentient beneath the ocean. The sound, when slowed down, seemed to pulse in intervals eerily similar to a heartbeat. The legend, it seems, refuses to die because the sea itself continues to tell its story. On moonless nights, sailors who cross the region often speak of a peculiar feeling, the sense of being watched. It isn't fear, not exactly, but awareness. The way the stars reflect off the water gives the illusion of endless depth, as if the universe itself has inverted and you're sailing through space rather than sea. Many say it's in those moments that the triangle feels alive, a vast consciousness stirring beneath the surface, older than mankind and infinitely patient. Perhaps the Bermuda Triangle is not a curse nor a supernatural phenomenon, but something else entirely, a natural mechanism we have yet to comprehend, something tied to the planet's very pulse. The Earth is alive with energy, magnetic, gravitational, electrical. The triangle may simply be one of its beating hearts, a place where those energies converge and dance in ways we've yet to explain. As another freighter hums through the waters between Nassau and San Juan, its radar steady and engines strong, its captain gazes across the horizon. The sea is quiet tonight, no clouds, no wind, just the faint echo of waves against steel. He knows the stories, of course every sailor does. But as he watches the stars glint over the black water, he feels a strange peace. Because maybe, he thinks, the Bermuda Triangle isn't about fear at all. Maybe it's about wonder, the kind that reminds humanity that mystery still exists and always will. As the years pass and technology grows ever more precise, the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle remains one of the last great enigmas of the modern world. Every satellite, every sonar pulse, every radar sweep that crosses its invisible borders seems to say the same thing. This place is ordinary. And yet, it isn't, for all our science and certainty. The triangle endures as a riddle wrapped in the endless blue of the Atlantic, a mirror reflecting not just the sky, but the fears and fascinations of the human mind. In recent years, exploration of the triangle has intensified. Private companies now deploy autonomous drones to map its seafloor in astonishing detail. They have found wrecks, hundreds of them, some ancient, some modern, some still sitting eerily upright as if frozen in time. These discoveries confirm that many tragedies were not supernatural at all, but the result of storms, mechanical failure, or simple human error. And yet, among the documented wrecks, there are gaps, ships that should be there but aren't. The missing names still haunt digital databases, unaccounted for even by the most advanced sonar. It's as if the ocean itself edits its own history. In 2024, a new anomaly was recorded, a magnetogravitic disturbance, as researchers called it, that pulsed for nearly 6 minutes across a 200-mile radius southeast of Bermuda. Instruments on satellites detected an abrupt fluctuation in both the magnetic field and gravitational readings. It wasn't seismic, it wasn't solar, it was something else entirely. Ships within the zone reported no physical effects, but their clocks ran 4 minutes fast after the event. That single detail sparked a storm of speculation across the scientific community and the public alike. Was it a glitch in measurement, or another glimpse of the strange physics rumored to dwell beneath the waves? Even skeptics admit that the Bermuda Triangle's geography is unique. Beneath its calm surface lies one of the deepest oceanic trenches on the planet, a place where the Earth's crust bends, cracks, and folds into the unknown. Some geologists theorize that shifting magnetic materials in these depths could create transient fields strong enough to disrupt compasses and sensors. Others believe that natural gas pockets, methane eruptions, and rapid changes in buoyancy could cause sudden disappearances. These explanations are plausible, yet they don't quiet the whispers, because they only describe how things vanish, not why so many vanish here. The Bermuda Triangle's enduring power lies not in proof, but in possibility. It sits at the crossroads of logic and legend, the place where our need for control meets nature as quiet refusal to be mastered. Every new discovery seems to answer one question only to open two more. Why do so many compass errors occur within the same latitudes? Why do seasoned sailors describe sensations of weightlessness or time dilation? Why, in an era when nearly every inch of the Earth is mapped, does this one region continue to resist certainty? For centuries, humanity has looked to the ocean as both cradle and abyss, a realm of beauty and terror. The triangle amplifies that tension. To some, it's a living entity, a consciousness in water and salt that observes those who trespass its domain. To others, it's a portal, not a supernatural gate, but a natural one. A window into the physics of a planet still half asleep in mystery. Whatever it is, it continues to remind us that wonder still exists, even in an age that pretends to know everything. Late one evening, a cargo ship named the Horizon Dawn cuts across the center of the triangle. Its engines purr in rhythm, the deck lights glinting across black waves. The captain watches the horizon, an infinite stretch of silver-blue darkness, and feels that familiar unease. The instruments read steady. The sea is calm. But there's a hum in the air, a vibration so low it's almost imagined. He checks his watch, glances again at the compass, and frowns. The needle drifts 2 degrees west, then corrects itself. Just static, he tells himself. Just the sea playing tricks again. He walks to the bow, breathes in the salt air, and looks down into the shifting reflection of the stars. For a moment, the surface seems to shimmer, not with light, but with depth, as if the ocean itself is translucent and something beneath it is glowing faintly. He blinks. It's gone. He shakes his head, turns, and walks back to the bridge. Behind him, the water closes in gentle ripples, silent as sleep. The Bermuda Triangle doesn't roar or rage. It whispers. It seduces. It waits. Some say it's cursed. Others say it's misunderstood. But perhaps the truth is simpler. It's eternal. Because what the triangle represents isn't just a patch of ocean. It's the boundary of our understanding, the reminder that even now, in the age of quantum theory and Mars rovers, there are still corners of this world where mystery breathes freely. The legends of the triangle, from Flight 19 to the Star Tiger, from the Cyclops to the witchcraft, form a mosaic of fear and fascination, a chronicle of humanity's encounters with the unknown. Each vanished vessel, each final transmission, each unanswered call across the radio adds another brushstroke to a story that refuses to end. And maybe it shouldn't. Maybe the Bermuda Triangle is meant to remain a question, a living myth that keeps our curiosity alive. Because once we explain everything, the world becomes smaller. And the ocean, that vast indifferent mirror, becomes just water again. As the last rays of dusk fade from the Atlantic, the triangle stretches endlessly under the stars, quiet, inscrutable, and infinite. Beneath those waves, ships sleep in their metal graves, their names whispered only by the currents. Somewhere in that silence, truth waits, not to be conquered, but to be respected. And as long as there are those willing to cross these waters, the legend of the Bermuda Triangle will endure. A place where reason drowns and wonder is reborn.